and welcome to episode 53 of PauseCast. It is August the 31st, 2017. I am Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him. Welcome.
Hey, Mark!
Hey! I just noticed that both 53, the number of the episode, and 31, the current date, are prime numbers. And I got excited.
It's a super prime day.
Yeah.
As it turns out, it's been a super prime week. Because just a lot of good things have happened this week for video games. Which we'll get into right away. This is PauseCast. This is a show about video games. So let's just dig in, because I know you are like...
I'm
you're going to be chomping at the bit. Yeah, no. Do you mind if I go first, then?
Yeah, no, you go first.
Change of pace?
Go for it.
Okay. I'm going to go first. This week, I've been playing Mafia 3. I have been playing the Destiny 2 PC beta, which runs really, really great and feels good to play. It's a lot more of Destiny, and Destiny was very good. I'm excited to actually be able to play some more of it next week.
Because that's next week is when it comes out on consoles, but PC is like a couple of months later, right?
Yeah, so PC comes out at the end of October, and the PC beta is just running for a couple more days, and then Destiny 2 on consoles is literally next week. So after the show next week, you can tune in and watch me and Ash play some of that new Destiny 2 content. It's going to be very good.
Nice.
Yeah, I had the chance to play some of the multiplayer stuff, though. They've changed it from 6 versus 6 to 4v4.
Okay. Is that how wide is that change? Because I know, for example, my brother, who plays a lot of Destiny, he's got a full set of 6 people that he plays with. Is that for all game modes, or...?
It is not for all game modes. You still have 6 people in the raids.
Okay.
But in the actual player versus player multiplayer stuff, it's going down to 4.
Okay. How did that change feel?
It felt good, actually. I only tried the control point mode, where there's 3 assigned points on the map, and you have to control them for the most amount of time and get kills while having the advantage.
Okay.
So I had the chance to try that out. Feels good. Runs real well on my PC. It looks gorgeous.
Nice. Were you playing it with a controller?
No, I was playing it mouse and keyboard.
Okay. This is Destiny 1 didn't come out on PC, right? So is this the first time you've been able to play any Destiny game with a mouse and keyboard?
That's correct, yeah.
Did that feel any particularly different?
It felt so good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like the precision of mouse and keyboard. I don't so much care for it when it comes to things like Mafia, which are in third person.
Right.
I feel like that's it's a bit more unwieldy. But mouse and keyboard has just been... Yeah, it was so much fun to actually use, and it makes aiming in multiplayer much faster. It makes the pacing of multiplayer very fast.
Right, because everyone's got that extra precision if they're playing with mouse and keyboard.
Exactly. So you've got to really up your game. So yeah, it was really fucking good. I'm so excited about Destiny 2.
Nice.
I'm reading the Twitch chat right now as well. Yardgnome737 is saying, as someone who absolutely hates Destiny 1 PvP, I've been having fun with Destiny 2. The 4 versus 4 change is good and makes for a more focused experience. I agree. I also picked up XCOM 2 this week.
They had a free weekend just this last weekend as well, didn't they?
I don't know about that.
I think they did. I mean, I've owned it for ages, but I'm pretty sure I saw that it was a free weekend.
I have a physical disc, and I've had it for a while, and I just haven't booted it up. The cover on it's super cool. It's got the
sectoid faceplate of skulls?
Yeah, but it shifts, as you, tilt it, it shifts from, normal faces to the skulls.
Oh, wow. So, is it one of those things we've got, a whole lot of lines?
Yeah, it's one of those.
Right. Oh, neat.
So, I have booted that up for the first time this week. It was good as hell to play.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a reason I gush about this game.
Yeah, I know. I died. I made my character in the character pool. And I got myself right away into like the first non-scripted mission.
Oh, I didn't realize that you made yourself in the character pool. I thought you had taken a character that was already in your squad and changed them to be you.
No, I put myself into the character pool, which actually RNG gave me like, oh yeah, your character is just in the game now.
Nice.
Have fun with that.
I think there might be maybe there's quite a high chance for characters you've just added to the pool to be added in your games. I've never actually tried it.
So there is a few ways you can configure it, actually. There's like fully random characters, which means you don't pull anyone from the pool. There is character pool only, which means obviously you only pull characters from your character pool. And then there's random in character pool, which is what I have to have on because I only have 2 people in my character pool right now.
I didn't realize that it was configurable like that. Nice. You should just have it all character pool and it'll just be all those 2 characters again.
I mean, it would be, but I think it feels more special to have the random generation.
Definitely.
Especially since, like, what happened with my character is I broke concealment with her by accident and was super exposed. And so the first character to die outside of a scripted sequence on either my side or the side of the aliens was just me.
Oh.
It was my character who died right away, and I was like, well, that sucks.
20 years in between XCOM and XCOM 2, and then finally your chance to fight back.
Just die instantly. It was a massacre.
Because if it was you in XCOM 2, like your current age in XCOM 2, then your character would have been born right before, like a couple of years before XCOM 1.
Yeah.
All this time waiting, like, I'm gonna kick these aliens out, and then, it's such a bummer.
Finally have the chance. Yeah, no. So I died instantly. It was a shameful performance on my behalf. But I came back from it in the end. We did win that mission. No.
Okay.
I stayed very dead. But we finished that mission, and the next mission I ran into a very special character who had a very special haircut. Which I think I sent you.
You told me about it.
Yeah, I made Guile from Street Fighter based off of a random character, so that was very fun.
Yeah, in the original XCOM, that haircut was like the default male soldier haircut. So in one of the DLCs they added, as part of it, it adds a bunch of aesthetic options, and it also means that one of the characters you get has got that haircut by default, and it can be added randomly to new characters as well. Yeah,
so I've got Guile from Street Fighter on my team, sunglasses and all. It is beautiful. She got very, very hurt. Unfortunately, she didn't die, but she got very hurt, and so she's out of action for like 20 days or something like that.
Yeah.
Oops. I have not been doing very good at action.
But you're making yourself do the Iron Man mode, right?
I started this like save on stream because I've started running it on a schedule now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started this character on stream. I'm going to continue to stream this save. I'm going to avoid reloading as much as possible because I think that's like probably the most fun way to play XCOM.
Particularly if you're on a stream, no one wants to watch you load and try again, right?
Yeah, especially not with like the load times that XCOM 2 does have. Like, they can be a little bit rough.
We're going to mention this shortly, I think, but I've noticed an improvement with the DLC.
Yeah, so that's the thing about XCOM 2. And like, you've been playing basically just that this week, is that right?
Oh, it's so good. Yes.
So you've been playing the expansion pack. I want to touch on that very, very quickly with a small issue that I learned about.
Mm-hmm.
So XCOM 2 with War of the Chosen, it's a $60 DLC here.
It's more expensive than the base game now that the base game is a year or so old. Or however old it is. And
there's a bunch of patches in this DLC for performance and stuff. And XCOM 2 was a game which had a lot of people who complained about the performance of it on like rigs that barely met system requirements or met it and exceeded it, but they were still seeing issues. And, that's continued to be an issue in the year or so after it's launched. Now, War of the Chosen has come out, and there is a bunch of performance improvements because they've rewritten a lot of code. And none of those improvements are carrying over to the base game.
Yeah, it's a frustrating situation for anyone who owns the base game but doesn't want to drop $60 on the DLC, right?
Yeah, especially it's pay to patch my software, which no.
I can understand the side of it where they had to rewrite a whole bunch of stuff, so it's not as easy as just putting across the fixes, but that doesn't stop it at all from being a frustrating situation where it would clearly be better if everything could be improved.
Yeah, it's frustrating for me because I just own the base games, and I like base game with the year one DLC, I guess.
One tip I can give you actually, which is a weird one, and I think it still applies even with the patches. When you're returning from a mission and you're in the Sky Ranger and it takes a while to load, if you press
it's the shift button.
Caps lock, trick. Yeah. If you press caps lock,
right. Okay.
It sort of hangs for a little bit, but then is ready to load, and it seems to speed it up quite a lot. I've noticed it doesn't. That again, that's one of the things that seems to be improved a lot now with War of the Chosen. But it can help if that particular wait time is bothering you in the base game.
Yeah, no, that's such a weird issue. I remember hearing about that around the launch of XCOM 2, and I was like, wow, that's...
I don't know how to explain it, eh?
No, it's just kind of this... It's a quirk of this particular video game. It's just the weirdest possible quirk, I would say. Is that accurate?
I mean, I'm guessing it might be some debugging thing that they left in by mistake or intentionally kept it obscure, where it's like, okay, instead of keeping everything animating and when rendering and whatnot, just dedicate everything to loading, I guess, because it seems to hang, but that is completely a guess.
I mean, that would make sense as like a little bit of debug code. It's still weird that that's not maybe like a toggle option that you could put in settings, hey, faster loads, but it's not as neat.
Yeah, it's weird either way, whether that's the explanation or not.
Yeah. So, without further ado, you have been playing War of the Chosen, and I know you are just chomping at the bit to tell me about this game. So, I'm going to sit back.
Okay.
I'm going to grab my fidget cube, and you can go ahead and tell me about XCOM 2 War of the Chosen.
So, you were saying that all slowly, deliberately, weren't you?
I was.
Answer. Yeah. So, I've been looking forward to it for ages because I think I've mentioned it pretty much every episode since it got announced at E3, which wasn't that long ago. It's a pretty quick turnaround from announcement to coming out.
Yeah, but, it really has been.
I don't like games that have got pre-order bonuses and stuff, so I tried not to pre-order games even when I know I'm going to buy it. So I bought it 15 minutes after it released. I'd left my laptop on that morning with Steam open so it would download and be ready when I got home. And I got straight to it. My poor flatmate got home and had to start downloading it and wait an hour for the 30 gigs to download and be ready.
Jesus!
It was fast. Yeah, it's big. It was faster for him to move his desktop downstairs next to the router, then start downloading, and then afterwards move it back up to his bedroom. But, so I was ready to go right going. I think I've probably spent 10 hours in it over the last couple of evenings. It's because it's been my solid evening. And, it's so good.
So tell me what's good. What's new?
Yeah.
In a brief summary, and what's good in a brief summary.
The thing that makes XCOM, I'm just going to say XCOM instead of XCOM 2 every time, but it was good in XCOM, it's better in XCOM 2, it's better still in War of the Chosen. The thing that's made it good, for me, the thing I love about it is it generates really cool little stories. Every mission is a neat story. XCOM 2 was good at that, and War of the Chosen is fantastic at that. Every change they've made seems to improve that, and they work well together as well. A big part of it is more variety, but also everything that was a bit frustrating or annoying or niggly in XCOM 2, they seem to have improved. There are a bunch of improvements I hadn't even thought of, but they're just relatively little tweaks that have changed it quite dramatically for the better, I think. I saw I haven't used any yet, but there are some new specific difficulty options that look really interesting and really good for tuning your own experience. For example, XCOM and XCOM 2 have both had like doomsday counters. The XCOM 1 was way more annoying because there was like 5 of them. XCOM 2 has got one doomsday counter. Once it reaches the full thing, I guess it's game over. I've never got there. But it's that pressure that I've complained about on the show before, where everything's ramping up and up and up, and it's you feel like there's time pressure to get the thing done. But what you can do is you can halve that progression speed as one of the difficulty options. Another thing a bunch of people found quite annoying in the base XCOM 2, and I don't know if you've noticed this yet, they rely pretty heavily in a lot of mission types on having timers, where there might be 6 turns until you have to do this thing. And, it can work well for adding tension, but they're used pretty much all the time. So another option there is double the length of timers. Both of those make the game easier. They've got some that make the game harder, like double everything's health, apparently. I haven't tried that yet. I don't know how it's going to work with one of the new things, which is the Lost. They've got another one like grenade or explosion damage bleeds off with distance, which doesn't do normally. So it's, what was that other game that let you tailor your difficulty that we were talking about a while back?
That was Dishonored 2.
Yeah. So it's a really good trend, and I'm really happy to see it continued in another game, because that sort of customization of difficulty, I really like it. I think it's really good. Instead of just like, easy, medium, hard, whatever, they all will tweak a bunch of things, and sometimes it's just one thing you're having trouble with, or one thing that's making you enjoy the game less. So being able to tweak them individually is really nice. And it's still got the regular overall difficulty levels, which I'm guessing are like AI strength and how likely enemies are to get crits or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's all cool. They've also added a bunch of new enemy types as well. One of them is sort of a different faction. It's basically zombies.
Yeah, you mentioned them. That's the Lost. Is that correct?
Yeah. So that's a really cool mechanic, what they've done with it, where so they when they show up, they're attracted to noise, so explosions and stuff will draw more of them onto the field. If you're shooting, every now and then like a mob of them will show up and you'll get warnings it's approaching. And then they'll just run it at you or the enemy or the aliens to hit them with melee attacks. If you kill one of the Lost with a regular attack, it doesn't cost an action. So normally you've got 2 actions per turn, and shooting or throwing a grenade will end your turn normally. But now, there's 6 zombies charging at you. You've got a full clip on an assault rifle. You can kill 4 of them and then reload and kill the other 2.
I thought reloading also takes your action.
It does, but you can reload and you've still got your second action, so you can continue shooting.
Right.
It also means that the classes like the sharpshooter, which has a secondary weapon that doesn't require reloading, the pistol, can be very good. So what I've had in my playthrough so far, I've got a breakthrough, which is a new thing they've added where when you finish research projects, sometimes you'll get like a bonus one that wouldn't be available normally that you can research, gives some permanent bonus, and mine was +1 damage on all standard weaponry. So my sharpshooter's pistol does 3 to 4 damage instead of 2 to 3, which makes it much more useful against these zombies that can have like 2 to 4 health kind of thing. So my sharpshooter has got like 40 kills or something ridiculous because of one of the missions with the Lost in it, where he just killed like everything. So like that's really cool. There's a lot more mission variety. They don't all rely on timers now. I have, like I said, I've played probably about 10 hours of it. I have not yet done 2 missions that had the same objective type, which is very different from when I played the base game. That's really good. Having the missions feel distinct helps add to that story aspect of it as well. The bonds is kind of cool. I haven't got to explore that much yet because I don't have a bunch of soldiers that have bonded together. But as they are deployed together or sent on, you can send your soldiers away on covert ops now, kind of like in games like the later Assassin's Creed 2 games, where you could send off assassins to do stuff and they'd level up. You've got that for them as well now.
Yep.
And each pair of soldiers has got like how compatible they are. If they're more compatible, the bond bar increases faster. Once they're at a certain threshold, they can then go and do some training to level it up and get some bonuses when they're together. I haven't got to explore that too much yet. The other thing I was excited about, which is really cool... Sorry, this is all stream of consciousness, so I'm jumping around. The posters are really neat. So there's a bunch of occasions where the game will prompt you to make a poster. When you finish a mission, when a pair of soldiers gets bonded, when a soldier gets promoted, when a soldier gets captured, I think it makes one without letting you pick anything. But they're really neat, and I like... So they show up in the background of missions. They'll show up on the walls. But the thing I found I really like about them, as well as just giving extra character to your soldiers, because hey, this one's on this poster, these two are here, and they're like, they fight really well together. You can also just use them to commemorate missions and remind yourself and look at it and go, oh yeah, that was that mission. So last night I had a really cool mission where just all of a sudden I got alerted, okay, the Resistance has found a grounded UFO. We want to get it, so we're going to send a team in. Went and did that. I had one of the new soldier types, Reaper, who is very stealthy, snuck into the UFO while everyone else was scouting around waiting to set up an ambush. And actually, once I set off the ambush outside, they started to send out a distress signal, and a 6-turn countdown timer started to get inside the UFO to turn it off. And my Reaper character, she was sitting one square away from where you needed to be to turn off that timer. So that worked out super well. And then one of the new bosses showed up, and there were new enemy types, and it was all very exciting, and I beat it, and I don't even think anyone got hurt. And at the end, I took a poster photo in front of the UFO with like handwriting words on it saying, fuck you, it's ours now. So we're going to put that up on some walls, get the aliens to have a look. It's so much fun.
It's very good. I saw, I think it was Nathan Grayson over at Kotaku, writing for his review of War of the Chosen, talking about one of the bonded soldier pairings that he had, Thunder and Lightning, who always went together.
Right, so Thunder and Lightning is one of the random sets of words that can be generated on posters.
Oh, okay.
Rather than the actual name of a bonded pair. You can... So each soldier still gets nicknames when they level up. I haven't seen bonded pairs specifically get them in-game, but you could have consistent wording on the posters because you can just write whatever you want in. The game didn't generate fuck you for me. That was me. That was
no,
me.
Yeah, that would earn that game a M for mature rating very easily.
That would... Yeah. I don't think that would be quite in what with the sort of thing they normally do. But, no, I forgot what my about was. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to tell another mission story, because this game, it's fantastic at generating these stories from each mission. It's just the best. Like, XCOM 2 was good. This is just great. I was going to steal some supplies from the aliens. Turns out these supplies are in an abandoned city, so there's a lot of the lost around. We got inserted into like an abandoned set of apartments, and I was in the top apartment of a 3rd-story building looking out the window, completely concealed, while aliens fought the lost, and I was trying to sneak around to position myself near as many of the crates as possible, because once I started retrieving them, everyone will be alerted to me. So I managed to do that. Some people in the apartment, some people had gone down and over and up onto a train overbridge, got a bunch of the crates, and then turns out that the aliens weren't the real problem, it was the lost, and they started to completely swarm me. Then to make matters worse, one of the bosses showed up. Now, so the bosses, the Chosen, there's 3 of them, and when you kill them, they escape and will show up again. So they'll show up randomly in a mission, you don't know they're going to be there. And they have generated strengths and weaknesses just like the Shadow of Mordor enemies have had. So I know that they're not always the same because I've compared it to what my flatmate had, and they don't line up perfectly. So my assassin chosen assassin, I think, they have 2 strengths which are really painful together, which is they won't trigger any Overwatch or reaction fire, so they can move freely without you getting any shots at them from ambushes. And also they get a free Overwatch at the end of each of their turns. So it's really hard to ambush them, and it's really hard to approach them as well. But their weaknesses are they take more damage from Reapers, but also they take more damage from explosions. And they happen to stop next to a truck, and trucks blow up. So I threw a couple of grenades at them. First grenade blew up, set the truck on fire, hurt them a lot. Second grenade blew up, hurt them a lot, blew the truck up, which also hurt them a lot. But, explosions attract the lost. So, like a dozen lost spawned nearby that I then had to survive. Oh, it was so cool. Sorry.
This game sounds like it's got some like really cool systems and stuff.
I'm just having so much fun with it. Every piece of it they've added works really well together that I've found so far. It's very cool. And like I said, I haven't done 2 similar missions yet.
I also hear that the this is away from XCOM 2 just a little bit, but I hear Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle is like weirdly good. Yeah,
that's because that's a tactics game, right?
It is, and it's like an XCOM light kind of situation. It's like it's a tactics game. Mario has a gun inexplicably.
That's weird.
The Rabbids from the Rayman spin-off series by Ubisoft are there. It's developed by Ubisoft.
It's a Mario game developed by Ubisoft?
Yeah. It's like this bizarre like thing that maybe shouldn't exist and maybe shouldn't work, but a lot of people have been saying that game actually also is like super good, and like the way I've heard the tactics system described is really interesting too, because it takes out a lot of the like RNG, how you get like 34% chance to hit and stuff. Instead, it just uses like raw cover. So if you have cover, then it's if you have half cover, it's always a 50% chance. If they have full cover, it's always a 0. And if they're in no cover, it's always a 100. And then the variations beyond that are just all in damage.
That reminds me a bit of Into the Breach, that upcoming tactics game from the people who made FTL. Because from what I remember hearing about that game, the idea is I don't think there's chance-based stuff. I think it's a matter of what you do has like you know what the outcome will be. So it's about finding the perfect moves. I'm not 100% sure I've got that right, but that's the impression I remember getting.
That's how this Mario and Rabbids game has been described. It's been described as a puzzle box of tactics, because it encourages you to like finish it in the shortest amount of turns, and you get like the highest gold reward for that.
Right. I'm definitely not playing the shortest amount of turns now. If there's no timer, I am taking my damn time.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? Especially because a lot of the time now it's once you break concealment, a timer starts. So you can afford to just like, no, I'm going to wait a few turns for the enemies to walk back into a better ambush position.
Right.
And I've done that.
Then go for it.
Yeah. So before I gush for another ages, I want to ask, do we have anything in the inbox this week?
Unfortunately, we don't have anything in the inbox this week. If you would like to add something to the inbox, questions, comments, we will read stuff from the inbox live on the show. Just email us, pausecastshow@gmail.com.
It's really cool when we do have questions, so please do write them.
Yeah, definitely. All right, continuing on.
Another thing, so I mentioned... Actually, no, I haven't even mentioned this yet. One little change, little-ish, it seems, has had a big impact on how I play it. Now, I think from talking to my flatmate that this is something that they may have first been implemented in the Long War mod, that they've then thought that's cool, and implemented it in War of the Chosen. I haven't played it, so I don't know, but that's what my flatmate mentioned last night when we were talking about it.
As far as I know, a lot of the Long War team had actually worked on XCOM 2. Like, I believe Jake Solomon, the director, actually did that Long War mod, and then now is directing XCOM 2. I could be wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure some of that Long War team is actually working on the base game.
Cool. So the feature I'm talking about is soldiers now get tired. So the way I have played XCOM previously is, these are my best soldiers. I'm going to use them every time I can. Whereas now, they get tired. Or they might be away on covert ops since there's the other thing you can do with them now. But that means that I've been forced to spread my roster a lot more and use different soldiers, as well as, seeing how they pair up and stuff like that. And it's had a really big impact on how I play, and I really think it's better off. This is something that I think will make it easier for me to play in Iron Man mode in the future as well, because, when you're relying on the same 6 people every time, if one of them dies, that's a big deal. But if you're spread out a lot, it doesn't matter. Sorry, it doesn't matter as much if one of them dies because you've got more.
I think one of the really cool. Biggest problems I had while I was playing through much of the Fire Emblem series was actually that I would end up spreading myself too thin.
Yeah.
And then never have good enough units for once I started getting into the end game.
Right. Part of the thing I have with Fire Emblem is I don't want to miss out on any of the units' interactions, but there's so many of them, I can't always have them all on the field. That's one of the nice things about at least being randomly generated means they don't have all that specific content I worry about missing out on. It's all generated, so I can just run with it a bit more easily. It's kind of interesting because curated stuff is, tends to be higher quality than randomized stuff, obvious reasons, but it lets me feel better about playing it in a certain way.
Yeah. I actually have access to all of those support conversations just in the back of the art book for Fire Emblem Awakening, so if you want to know about those, hit me up. There's literally the full script for every support convo back there.
Does that include all of the, if X is this person's dad, or if X is this person's dad?
It includes every single support conversation.
Nice. I have to do that.
It is wild. You'd
have to do 50 playthroughs to get all of those because of the different pairings. Mm-hmm. I think I just spoiled a big thing in Fire Emblem Awakening.
Did you?
I talked about people being people's dads.
Oh yeah, no, there's a whole... Oh my god, that game is fucked up. There's a whole time travel thing. Shit's buck wild.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, Fire Emblem Awakening. What a good video game. And all the pairing stuff is also reminded me a couple times of Valkyria Chronicles and how that has specific attributes for all of its characters. So
that's
you'll have one character that
World War II anime one, right?
Yes, anime World War II. It's you have characters who like dudes and like women. By the way, this can apply to either dudes or women. Dudes can like dudes and women can like women.
Just like real life.
Just like real life, as it turns out. But in that game, you can have characters who will fight better if you put them closer to other dudes.
It's they're showing off.
Yeah, or even just they just are attracted to dudes. There is gay and lesbian characters in Valkyria Chronicles. I think there's a couple bisexual ones as well who will fight better when they're next to anyone.
Nice. That's a good quality to have, right?
Yeah, it is. But it reminds me a little bit of that system where you can try and bring those characters together, and some of them have specific character dislikes and likes. I don't like this specific person, but I really like this other one.
There's kind of stuff like that in XCOM 2 with that compatibility thing. There won't be any downsides to pairing two people together, except that the bond meter won't go up as fast. But once two soldiers are bonded, there's no each soldier can only bond with one other. I don't know what happens if one of them dies. I think you can rebond them, but it hasn't happened to me.
There is none of that in Fire Emblem. Mm-hmm. But there is that in Valkyria Chronicles. There is a disadvantage to putting a character by another character that they dislike. They will like have reduced aim and stuff like that.
Right. You can get some bad effects like that now in War of the Chosen. For example, one of my characters is now scared of sectoids. If they show up, there's a chance they'll panic, which is an interesting new thing they've added. They've been able to have soldiers get shaken before, like if they were knocked unconscious or bleeding out, I think, if I remember right, they'd get shaken, which meant reduced will, which meant more likely to panic in general. Now they've got more specific stuff. You can remove it with a certain room that you can build, so it's not like, oh, they're just permanently worse now. But it's there, and they've made it more interesting now, which I can really appreciate. It looks like, as well, it actually depends on their experience, it's adding to their history. This person's afraid of sectoids because they got fucked up by some sectoids.
Yeah.
I think my character has got mind controlled one time, so now they're afraid of them, for example. Like, that's cool. You remember, this is part of that character's history, and it's like it's the game reminding you, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also bad when they panic, but, like, stories, it's cool.
Yeah, XCOM 2 is, like, from what I've played of it even, is a very cool, like, story generator. I'm looking forward to spending some more time with that game, I think. But
nice, yeah,
a lot of my game time is just going to be Destiny 2 next week.
I'm so not surprised by that.
It's gonna be wild. I'm very excited.
There's another game that got released this week, which I've been interested in, but War of the Chosen's out, so I'm not picking it up just yet.
Yeah.
Which I only learned about it at E3, although it had been announced well before that, which is Absolver.
Yeah. This was like I've heard it described as vaguely Dark Souls-like in its approach. It's kind of weird, but it's like a cool fighting game.
Yeah, the thing that really... So I'm not normally really into fighting games, but I watched a video of it, and I was just really impressed with the animation. I saw it mentioned that I think all of their animation team has got martial arts experience. And I did Taekwondo for 13 years, so when I see like a bad fight scene in a movie, I can't help but see... Wow, that person doesn't know how to do that. That looks bad.
Sorry. So, hold on. You just dropped some.
Have I never said that to you?
That I need to address. You did Taekwondo for 13 years?
Have I never said that to you?
You've never mentioned this to me before.
Oh, sorry. I don't try to hide it or anything.
No, I don't expect you would, because that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I did.
Cool.
I don't know what more to say about it, sorry. No, I started when I was 10, so, a 10-year-old can only get so good at it. But, yeah, no, and did it for quite a while.
I did karate back in the day when I was a small child, and that was, like, as far as my martial arts experience kind of got. I would not mind taking it up again. I would like to. I think learning some self-defense stuff might be handy. You never know. Does Taekwondo have like a belt system?
Yeah.
Okay. What belt did you end up getting?
Third degree.
Third degree. That's fairly high up, eh?
Well, I mean it goes up to 9th, but that's not common to get that far. Okay. Sorry, just noticed the comment in the Twitch chat.
Yeah. Mark cannot bring up your history with Taekwondo out of fear of being forced to register as a weapon by the state. It says Yard Gnome 737.
It's true. I'm supposed to register myself, yes.
And now you've been caught out on the stream. This has been a sting operation.
Oh shit, I hope there aren't any cops watching.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, but so Absolver appealed to me because of that, because it's like, oh wow, this stuff all looks like well animated, it's fluid, it's realistic, like a person could do that, but they'd also have to be amazing to do that. Mm-hmm. But it's just so it's appealed to me. It's also relatively cheap. It's I think $36. So it's not like $60 or $100 or something. So I'll probably pick that up at some point because I thought it looked really interesting. And I don't know if, it's got PvP and stuff. I don't know if I'll be fully getting into that, but I'm pretty sure I'd enjoy playing it.
I also want to point out an article about Absolver and about like design in other games, including Diablo 3 and Overwatch and Pokemon. It's called "Context is Key" on Inspiration, Attribution, and Cultural Appropriation in Design, and it's by Nath Kai. A link to that will be in the Twitch chat if you're watching live, and it will be in the show notes if you're not.
So you
that's
linked
a
that.
really interesting read.
You linked it to me earlier this week, and I had a read, and it was interesting because I found myself immediately feeling defensive of the game and getting uncomfortable, which I think is a sign that I really need to pay attention to that and listen instead.
Yeah, like I would not disagree with that like evaluation of it either. So, I think it points out some like really interesting stuff about like the influence, like the cultural influences of characters like Zenyatta in Overwatch, and like specific cultural imagery, inspirations taken from like legends, specifically some Chinese literature, which inspired like the visual design of like Diablo 3's monks, and also Zenyatta again. So like it is a very good article. I would highly recommend checking it out. It's a good read.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, and it's made me think. I still don't think I've finished processing it as well. The first like instinctive defensive thing was, well, all video games can't be history lessons as well. But I mean, that's a bit of a cop out on my part. I could recognize that as soon as my brain came up with it. But still, I still want to be able to see a game like Absolver that pulls all these things together, just because I think martial arts is cool.
Yeah. I'll read a little pull quote here from the article as well. It's unclear how many different martial artists are referenced in Absolver, but they're all bundled together in Absolver's fictional setting, a setting which doesn't contain the cultures that they belong to. By including these techniques but divorcing them from their sources, we aren't creating opportunities to help players understand the real-world history behind them. We're being told that these cultures are interchangeable. Which is like, that's a hell of a pull quote.
Yeah, and I think another effect of this sort of thing, especially when it becomes really commonplace, and you see it in games like Diablo 3 and stuff just pop up, is it becomes so divorced from its original setting that it no longer gets thought of really at all there in popular culture. It becomes this thing looks like... Sorry, what was the Overwatch character? I don't play it. Zenyatta or Zenyatta? Zenyatta. Yeah, and it becomes, you're referencing the stuff that was referencing something else, and becomes entirely divorced from it.
Yeah, so, you find yourself in a chain of reference that ends up just going on forever and forever and forever. And so the source material at some point gets lost in the noise. Yeah,
I remember this is frustrating because it's reminding me of another really interesting article I read a while ago, but I can't remember exactly where or who it was by. But it was about the current Amonkhet set of Magic the Gathering cards, how its setting is definitely meant to be inspired by Egypt, but it is also... I don't know what adjective I want to use. That it was written by someone who I think was from the culture it was taken from, and the metaphor I'm using. And I'll see after the show if I can find what this article was. So if I can find it, we can put a link in the show notes. But I remember they used a metaphor of people being invited to, like, hey, this store will, like, display your culture for a week. It's your turn. We want you to come and tell us what to do. And then you get there and they're like, okay, here are the things you can use and you can put them on these. And it's suddenly not really yours anymore, and you feel like kind of cheated. That was the impression I got from the article. And again, it was something that provoked a bunch of thought in me, because I had the same initial like, oh, it's fine, but oh, actually, wait, because it doesn't really affect me that way. So it's interesting. It's still, cultural appropriation is not something I fully understand, so I'm trying to do a lot more listening than I do talking. I'll see if I can find the link after the show, though, because I definitely found it a good read when I initially read it.
Yeah, I had a quick look using a couple keywords to see if I can maybe find it, but no.
Yeah? Okay.
I had not run across that article, so can't help you, unfortunately.
Good.
We got a question from Yardgnome737 in the Twitch chat. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds recently did the impossible and beat Dota 2 in concurrent player numbers. It pulls higher stream numbers than League of Legends and basically sells 1 million copies every 2 weeks. As of now, it's 2017's best-selling game on any single platform, and stats show it pulls players away from Counter-Strike Go daily. Question: does this hype train stop anytime soon, and how big does this get? Well, I mean, I'm the resident PlayerUnknown's player, so I'll kind of field this to start. The hype train never ends, is the thing. PlayerUnknown's is still like immensely satisfying to play, even with more than 100 hours played now. I have crossed that threshold.
Wow. Well done. Yeah. I will get there with XCOM 2 shortly. I think, what am I at now? 80-something. 87 hours XCOM 2 now.
I'm about to cross 200 with Overwatch. In terms of just like raw hours played, like Overwatch has taken number one. Besides Smash, Smash will always be number one, I think. Mm-hmm. But Overwatch is rapidly climbing. Yeah, PlayerUnknown's is really good, and the folks over at Giant Bomb were also talking about something with PlayerUnknown's kind of interesting this week, and that was how it handles like player loss, and it handles it so much better than anything like CS:GO or Rainbow Six Siege or anything even like remotely comparable, because it's a question of scale with PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You have 100 people who are dropping into an island, and only one is going to win. And it makes those losses that you take sting less. And the nature of it just being like, oh yeah, I'll just drop out. That's, I'm done. That's my game. I'll just jump into a new one. And it's a whole new, like, experience every time. There's the random generation, which makes it so that you have to improvise roughly every single time. You can go to the same locations if you really wanted to, but you'll probably be forced to do something different along the way. In fact, many different things along the way. And it makes PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds this really interesting challenge, I think. It doesn't stagnate quite as easily as something like League of Legends or Dota or even CSGO might do, where you're playing small maps. You're probably playing with the same loadouts every single time, and you're running the same routes. Overwatch is the same, like, you're playing the same maps, you're running the same routes, you're using the same kind of sets of heroes, maybe a little bit of variation now and again, because your team isn't filling another role.
I've got a...
PlayerUnknown's operates on such like a huge scale and huge player scale that, yeah, loss stings less. And also, it feels constantly fresh, even with one map, even with even just having one map and like the base sets of weapons and stuff that it has now. Like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds still feels immensely good to play.
I've got a question to add into this when you're done. Yeah, sure. I'm going to stop interrupting you so you can ask me for it instead of me keep trying.
I don't think this hype train is stopping anytime soon. Not as long as PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds continues to actually add content. And personalities like continue to develop around it as well. Like, people are making that game entertaining to watch. Playing with your friends makes that game entertaining as hell to play. And so I don't think that hype train is stopping anytime soon. Your question.
So, one thing I wonder, and I'm someone who doesn't really play these games, particularly, like, I played Dota 2 once when a friend got me to try it with him, and it is not my game. It turns out I just don't enjoy MOBAs. But one thing I wonder with what I do know about games like that and Overwatch and stuff, and how familiarity with each different character's skills, both the ones you use and the other ones and stuff, can make it a bit daunting to new players. Do you think that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is very different in that respect when it comes to how easy it is to get into for a new player without that sort of familiarity?
I think it's made easier by the fact that like loss doesn't sting all that much, just because of that scale again. Like losing ultimately might be frustrating for a couple seconds, but you can just jump into another whole new experience. And you figure out and build up how to play. And I went through this process, and Ash is going through the process of kind of learning. We're learning our way around the game and how every bit and piece works. Mm-hmm. And we have to learn it in small chunks because it's all based off of improvisation. We have to, run with what we got. And one thing that's kind of also interesting about PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is a lot of learning that game is learning what weapons feel best for you. Like your AK-47 and, whatever, all of this feels radically different, and it does kind of comparable amounts of damage. So learning how to work with everything is kind of the biggest thing in that game. And that can be done just, over time. I don't think there has to be there's not like a lot of onboarding to do with PlayerUnknown's if you've played any sort of shooter before. If you were completely new to the genre, then yeah, there'd be some issues there. And there would certainly be some issues with some of the complexity of the controls as well. Like there's a lot of kind of advanced functions. There's stuff like fire modes and switching your view into first person. Things like that make PlayerUnknown's a little bit trickier to learn. Okay. But it doesn't quite have the learning curve of a hero shooter where everything is radically different for every character or every single thing. Instead, it just becomes like, oh yeah, you learn a general set of mechanics and then just keep expanding chunks as the situation suits. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Cool. So, this is bringing us into the end of our show. What are you looking forward to playing over the next week?
Well, actually, I'm going to not start with the obvious. I'm looking forward to the next session I'm going to run in my D&D game on Saturday because it's the finale of this arc. So hopefully that'll be fun. Nice. Aside from that, obviously, more War of the Chosen, XCOM 2. That's so good. I just want to keep playing it.
Yeah. Destiny 2, for me, I get that on Wednesday when I get home, and that night is just going to be all Destiny all the time. We are going to have we're preparing in advance. We're going to order takeout, and we're going to make it a Destiny night.
Nice.
It's going to be good. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to also just putting more time into Mafia 3. I've gotten to the point where I have all my bosses now, all the underbosses.
Okay.
So I have my people working for me, and now I just need to kind of expand our operation. So I'm in that Act 2. So I'm looking forward to making some more progress in that. I also I wanted to touch on this earlier because you mentioned we mentioned Dishonored 2. Dishonored Death of the Outsider has a cool system that is going to be in that game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'll make this super quick. In the Dishonored DLC, for the original game, you played as another character named Dowd. Mm-hmm. And one of his unique mechanics was you could call in favors. Before a mission, you could select optional things, and you would pay a certain amount of coin, and you would get a little bonus in that particular run. So you could have you could pay one person to leave you a safe code or leave a key, because you have the framing there was you have an established network. Dowd is a character who's been around in this world for a very long time, and so to give him additional sense of character, they made it so, yeah, oh yeah, he's got a interconnected network of other associates, and you can pay them to do things for you. Dishonored Death of the Outsider, which is the Dishonored 2 DLC, starring Billy Lurk, who is one of the side characters from the original Dishonored, and Dishonored 2 as well, I believe.
She worked with Dowd or something, right? I haven't
That's correct.
played the games a whole bunch, but okay.
They've added a system for bounties and optional side missions for her, specifically, that you can go to specific locations and get to, because now the framing of her character is, so she's never, like, Corvo was in the Imperial Court, Emily was in the Imperial Court, Dowd was, like, top of the food chain when it came to the, like, criminal underworld, and Billy Lurk has none of those things. And so to keep her place in the world and keep herself going, she's got to make money somehow. And so they've created this cool bounty framing. And I thought that was really interesting.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool to see characters' histories shown through that sort of gameplay.
Character histories as mechanics is, like, super cool concept.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that in place. That, I think, is going to do it for this week on the show. Again, if you want to send emails to the inbox and get your questions read on the air, you can do so by going and emailing pausecastshow@gmail.com. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to support the show financially, that would be super awesome of you. And it helps us make a better show, helps us pay for our hosting costs, all that good stuff. Thank you to our current patrons, Ash Yee, Noah Holmes, PD, Residog, Laminated Moth, and Anthea Whittle for their continuing support of the show.
Thank you. Oh, it's just getting so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, we're aiming to have $15 per month raised by the end of September. So anything you could do to get us towards that goal. We're at 10 right now. So if you can help us get towards our goal there, that would be super awesome. And it will mean that we can cover our hosting costs through Patreon only. And that will
be fantastic.
That'll be a really, really cool moment. So I'm excited to hopefully get there.
Yeah.
If you're listening on iTunes, please give us a rating or a review. It helps us out. We're also online with the show elsewhere. We're on Twitter at PauseCast Show, and we're on Facebook, facebook.com/PauseCast Show. Mark, you are online. Where can people find you?
I am. I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I blog as well, though not about video games, at honestuniverse.com. And you are as well.
Yeah, I'm online. You can find me at bird.school. You can find me at hoisted.online. You can find this Twitch stream where you can watch PauseCast live every Thursday at 8 p.m. New Zealand Standard Time. You can find that at getting.hoisted.online or live.bird.school. Or if you want to get to it normally through Twitch, twitch.tv/cockatielcutie. Yeah. That's where we're at. That's the show, I think.
Music.
Every week.
No, you've been pretty good lately. You've been pretty good.
Yeah, you're right. No,
lately.
I have been pretty good lately, but not this week. Thank you very much to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island, off Leon's self-titled EP. Find that at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. That's it for this week. Peace.